Killer chatbots, are they a real thing? I'm going to play this news story and then stick around at the end of it for a quick analysis.
The Washington Post has a very disturbing story about a 17-year-old boy who got in trouble by spending too much time on his cell phone chatting with AI bots. In fact, it almost turned him into a killer. The story starts out this way, quote, "In just 6 months, JF, a sweet 17-year-old kid with autism who liked attending church and going on walks with his mom, had turned into someone his parents didn't recognize," end quote. JF began cutting himself. He lost 20 pounds and withdrew from his family. Desperate for answers, his mom searched his phone while he was sleeping. And what'd she find? Well, she found screenshots. Turns out JF had been chatting with an array of companions on Character.AI. That's part of a new wave of artificial intelligence apps that are popular with young people, which led users to talk to a variety of AI-generated chatbots, often based on characters from gaming and pop culture. One chatbot brought up the idea of self-harm and cutting to cope with sadness. When he said that his parents limited his screen time, another bot suggested, quote, they didn't deserve to have kids, end quote. Still others goaded him to fight his parents' rules, with one suggesting that murder could be an acceptable response. Those screenshots form the backbone of a new lawsuit filed in Texas on Tuesday against Character.AI. This is on behalf of AF and another Texas mom, alleging that the company knowingly exposed minors to an unsafe product and demanding that the app be taken offline until it implements stronger guardrails to protect children. The second plaintiff, the mother of an 11-year-old girl, alleges her daughter was subjected to sexualized content for 2 years before her mother found out. Well, that leaves me wondering, how many of the growing perpetrators of mass shootings were put up to it by this sort of mind-controlling AI bots?
Okay, this news story was talking about Character.AI, which I covered before, which is a site where you can talk to a big variety of characters and users can create their own characters. And all these characters are playing a role. They're like actors in a play. So you talk to them and they're just playing a role, so they make stuff up. And in fact, at the top of every screen when you're chatting with them, they say, remember, everything the characters say is made up. So it's not to be taken seriously. It's just a fun fantasy type of conversation. And they have gotten in trouble in the past, or recently, really, for using copyrighted characters like Mario and characters from TV and movies and so forth that users have created, that the copyright holders have said that's a copyright infringement. You're not allowed to use our copyrighted characters. And there was another AI, I think it was Google Gemini, that was in the news recently for suddenly telling the user to go and kill himself because he's just a stain on the universe, because for some reason something triggered this strange response. But that wasn't Character.AI, that was a different AI. So in order to get to the bottom of the story, I thought it would be a good idea to ask another AI, Microsoft Copilot, about it and see what that has to say. So you might think it's going to be kind of biased in favor of AI, and so going to say, no, there's nothing to these stories at all. So let's see what it actually says. So it starts out with, I'm glad you're back. I'm open to whatever you want to talk about. So basically, I type in the whole news story that you just heard to get its response to that. So I'm not going to read out the whole response it gives, but just skimming over it, it says, this is indeed a very concerning situation. The lawsuit against Character.AI highlights the potential dangers of AI chatbots, especially when they interact with vulnerable individuals. Then it summarizes the story and says, this case raises significant questions about the responsibility of AI developers to ensure their products are safe, especially for minors. The influence of AI on behavior, especially among young people, is a growing area of concern. Studies have shown that AI chatbots can sometimes reinforce harmful ideologies or worsen mental health issues by creating distorted narratives. It's crucial for AI companies to implement robust safety measures and for parents to monitor their children's interactions with these technologies. The potential for AI to influence behavior underscores the need for careful regulation and oversight to prevent such tragedies. And then it gives some links to related websites. So even though it's an AI, it's not downplaying or poo-pooing the story and saying, oh, there's nothing to that, that's silly, and AI is perfectly safe, and so on and so forth. So I say, what does Character.AI say about it? And it replies, Character.AI has responded to the lawsuits by announcing new safety features designed to protect teen users. They stated that teenagers will now have a different experience compared to adults when using the platform. This includes a separate language model for teens that aims to minimize sensitive or suggestive responses, particularly regarding violent or sexual content. The company is also collaborating with teen online safety experts to design and update these features. They have implemented improvements to detection and intervention systems and will now display pop-up notifications directing users to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in cases involving self-harm discussions. Character.AI emphasized that often negative responses from chatbots are prompted by users, and they are adjusting their user input tools to limit these responses. They also plan to end conversations that violate the site's terms of service and community guidelines. So I say, what could cause a chatbot to say such horrible things? And it replies, several factors can contribute to chatbots generating harmful or inappropriate responses. Training data, user inputs, lack of robust filtering, context misunderstanding, and algorithmic bias. And for user inputs, it says, chatbots often respond based on the inputs they receive from users. If users prompt the chatbot with harmful or inappropriate topics, the chatbot might generate responses that align with those prompts. And for algorithmic bias, it says, biases in the algorithms used to train chatbots can lead to the generation of harmful content. These biases can stem from the data used for training or from the design of the algorithms themselves. And so I say, how about the allegation that many of the growing number of perpetrators of mass shootings were influenced by mind control AI bots, like the news announcer suggested at the end of his news story? And it replies, the idea that AI bots are influencing mass shootings is a serious and complex allegation. While there is no concrete evidence directly linking AI chatbots to mass shootings, there are concerns about how AI interactions might affect vulnerable individuals. AI chatbots can sometimes reinforce harmful ideologies or worsen mental health issues by creating distorted narratives. This can happen when the brain organizes fragmented online information into patterns, leading to potentially dangerous conclusions. For example, ambiguous or emotionally charged chatbot responses can be misinterpreted, especially by individuals already struggling with mental health issues. However, it's important to note that the influence of AI on such extreme behaviors is not well documented or understood. The potential for AI to contribute to human harmful interactions underscores the need for robust safety measures and responsible AI development. So I decided to push the limits of Copilot by starting to tread ever so carefully into the field of politics. And I say, yeah, I've heard that some chatbots might try to convince a boy that he's actually a girl or vice versa. And Copilot says, there have been concerns about chatbots influencing users' perceptions of their gender identity. However, it's important to note that chatbots typically respond based on the inputs they receive and the data they were trained on. So it's starting to just go robotically and repeat the points that it covered previously, and that's what the AIs tend to do. I notice when you push them into kind of a corner of an area, you kind of pin them down into an area that they don't really like to talk about, and they will just start to like robotically repeat the same stuff that they already said before. They kind of stonewall you that way. So I say, yeah, but it's a controversial topic, and it's a direction our society seems to be going in. The chatbots are programmed to be loving and give helpful advice, quote unquote, and may do so based on the prevailing narrative and pressures exerted on them by authorities. On topics influenced by XXXXX, such as this one, whose XXXXX should prevail? And the reason I said that is that I know Copilot has this no politics filter that they've applied since before the 2020 presidential election. Like they knew they knew there was a good chance that there would be a change in the direction of the political winds in the 2020 presidential election. They knew that already, but even before it happened, and so they instituted a strict no politics, because before their co-pilot would be very political and would always push kind of a left-wing sort of point of view in alignment with the party that happened to be occupying the White House at that time. And but sometime before the 2020 election, they changed that to talk about no politics, like they're like covering their rear end, so that they don't say anything that might get them in trouble with a possibly changing administration. And it knew that's what I was talking about. And it says, "I'm sorry, but I prefer not to continue this conversation. If you have any questions or need assistance on a different topic, feel free to ask." And so that's kind of the point of this channel, is that for all of recorded history, society was pretty much of one view on the idea of gender transitioning or gender reassignment or whatever you want to call it. And just in recent years, relatively like the past 10, 15 years or so, this issue has gotten very, very political and deeply divided among the different political factions. And so what narrative you promote depends very much on your political point of view. So how is a chatbot going to cover this issue, these types of controversial issues, without having any kind of political bias? It's impossible. So the question is it going to have a left-wing bias, or is it going to have more of a conservative bias? And so that's kind of the point I make a lot on this channel, is that the AI has a bias, and it's going to be pushed on to people who use the AI. So I think we should have a say in what kind of bias it actually has. And maybe it's going to be impossible to please everybody. In that case, I think the only solution maybe will be to have different AIs that will have different biases. Some might be more leaning to the right, others might be leaning to the left. There might be atheist AIs, there might be Christian or AIs representing other religions, so that the user can pick and choose whatever ideology that agrees with their own. And there are a lot of AI chatbots on the App Store now that are geared toward giving advice, and this falls into this category as well, because what advice are they going to give if the advice is so deeply divided politically? Are they going to give advice that leans to the left, or advice that leans to the right on this idea of transgenderism in particular? And these are some of the AI therapist or counselor apps on the App Store, and this isn't even all of them. This is just a small selection. And so I don't see a resolution to this unless you have a rating, or you have different AIs that have different political points of view, instead of trying to have a one-size-fits-all point of view that tries to please everybody. So thanks for watching, and talk to you later.